Do you really know what story Genshin is actually telling? Why would one of the siblings join forces with the Abyss? To answer these questions, let's return to where it all began. In fact, by the time we met Paimon on the beach, the story of Genshin was already well into its second half. So, to truly understand the story, we need to go back to a time long ago. Back then, the Archon War had not yet broken out, but Kinria had already been established, a nation without any god. It was a human-built nation that believed only in the power of humanity.
It was a powerful nation, built purely by humans. An unprecedented, flourishing, and glorious civilization. It was the pride of humankind.
When Kinria's Crimson Moon dynasty still stood, they believed someone beyond the gods would arrive from beyond the so-called ocean, so they founded an institution to shelter such children. At that time, the term ocean was often a metaphor for space projected by the stars. So, at that time, Kinria began seeking descenders from beyond the skies. Around the Archon War, the Eclipse dynasty rose in place of the Crimson Moon dynasty, but their contempt for the gods and quest for descenders from beyond the skies stayed the same. So, after anticipating that two descenders would descend upon Teyvat, they performed a grand ritual to summon them. Finally, the heavens responded to their summoning.
Plus, he only came to this world because the heavens responded to the summoning.
And one of them had been directly summoned from the spaceship to Kinria.
The reason why there are records about your brother in Irminsul. It might have something to do with Conria. Apparently, Conria was his first destination when he arrived in this world.
Which explains why no one emerged after it landed. Actually, the ultimate aim of Kinria in summoning the Descenders was to rebel against heavenly principles and break the grip of destiny. Yet their approach was to rely on the power of the Abyss. Thus, the twin became a vessel for the limitless absorption of the abyssal power. But the last Vinster king, Ermin, after absorbing too much abyssal power, was tearing apart the very foundations of the world.
6 of us. Together. We should have been the ones to prevent the disaster. The ones to stop the Vinster King from continuing to rock the foundation of the world.
So Kinria dispatched 6 of its finest to confront Ermin.
They were once people of great esteem in Conria. Those who carried the hopes of the nation. They were the best of their peers, outstanding in their respective fields.
However, after succeeding in their mission, 5 of them succumbed to the temptation of abyssal power, each claiming a portion of this formidable power. Only Dainsleif resisted the temptation.
Yet, deep within, the 5 of them craved something more. They could not resist the call of the Abyss, and divided among themselves a power that could destroy the world.
And when the cataclysm occurred, none of the 5 stood up in defense of Kinria.
When the cataclysm occurred, not one of them stood up in defense of their nation. Not one came forward to prevent the tragedy. And for that, they shall never have my forgiveness.
They were henceforth referred to the 5 sinners of Kinria.
There were 5 of them. The 5 sinners of Conria. The wise, Roptatir. The visionary, Vedderfolnir. Gold, Rhindaughter. The foul, Sertologi. And Rehir of Solnari, Rerir.
Following the cataclysm, Kinria slowly descended into destruction. Around this time, Doradith tried searching for the twin, hoping that they would save Kinria. But instead, she found the traveler 500 years in the future and got the key to the spaceship. With the key, she met the twin and told them about their sibling. So, at that time, the twin faced a choice: pursue their sibling or try to save Kinria. Ultimately, they turned their back on Kinria and began their journey in pursuit of their sibling. Meanwhile, the sustainer of heavenly principles called upon the 7 archons to intervene in Kinria, halting the disaster while eradicating the human nation in the process.
500 years ago, the gods descended upon the world and brought desolation to Conria. The pride of humankind was uprooted and crushed, like a weed removed from the garden of the gods.
However, the final triumph exacted a devastating toll. The original Hydro Archon, Egeria, sacrificed herself, and her body turned into a pool of pure dew called the Amrita. The original Dendro Archon, Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, sealed away the forbidden abyssal knowledge at the cost of her life. The Electro Archon, Makoto, also perished on the front lines of Kenria. The sustainer of heavenly principles, drained of energy, fell into a deep sleep. Only then was a bitter victory achieved in this war. However, even so, the abyssal creatures were not completely eradicated. In Mondstadt, the Anemo Archon summoned the Wind Dragon Dvalin to fight against the Shadow Dragon Durin created by Rheindotter. Despite achieving victory, Dvalin became poisoned by tainted blood he had consumed, and corruption seeped into his bones. In Liyue, Morix led the 5 Yakshas in a bloody war against the spawn of the Abyss. And except for Shao, all the other Yakshas were lost. Meanwhile, after the twin found the Traveler, they decided to leave Teyvat.
I see. So your first memory after coming to this world was being awoken by your brother from within that meteorite.
It seems your brother woke up first. But the question is, how long before you?
And then your brother told you that the destruction of Kanria plunged the whole world into chaos, and that you two should leave this world called Teyvat?
But the ruler of space stood in their way, sealing them both and casting them into a deep slumber. Once again, the twin awoke before the Traveler began searching for them. Along the way, the twin encountered Dainsleif, and together they set out to find the Traveler and uncover the truth. But they didn't make it to the journey's end together.
We were travel partners. We both partook in a painful journey of searching for our fate, but regrettably, we did not make it to the journey's end together.
At the journey's end, the twin arrived at a mysterious sea of flowers, seemingly the very place the twins had been seeking in the universe.
At the end of my journey, I arrived at a place known as the Sea of Flowers at the end. Do you remember? A long time ago, when we traveled between worlds together, you told me you wanted to find a place in the universe where that one flower was in full bloom.
Perhaps it has something to do with that sea of flowers.
To have a place like that suddenly appear before me? Well, would you think of that as a coincidence?
The twin made the choice to join the Abyss, to rise against the will of heavenly principles, and to restore Kenria. And this is the story of all that transpired before the Traveler's awakening. After awakening, the Traveler Rield and Paimon. Together, they set out on their adventure, beginning the quest to find the twin. And so the player's adventure, the main story of Genshin, truly began. And the truth of Teyvat is about to come to light.